County.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Hello and welcome to HealthLink, a program connecting home, community, and healthcare. My name is Carol Merton, and I am delighted to welcome as a guest today Annette Pedlar, who is the Executive Director for Safe and Sound. And Annette is here today to talk about Safe and Sound programs, services, and possible future opportunities in our community. Annette, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much, Carol. I'm really excited to be here. This is fantastic.
So I appreciate very much you sending me the bullet points on how the conversation will flow. But I'm wondering first if you could tell us a little bit about how long you've been here involved in Safe and Sound, and then the actual history of Safe and Sound.
Yeah, for sure. That's great. So I'm still fairly new to my position. So I grew up in the Meaford area and then went away to school in Peterborough. And Peterborough caught me for about a decade, and I loved it there. But recently I moved back to the area. So I started my role here in December, and I've loved it so far. So it's been fantastic, and we have a fairly new board team on who has a lot of energy and is very forward facing, and so I'm feeling a lot of great momentum so far in my job. And yeah, it's I guess been 6 months, but it feels a bit longer at times, and sometimes I still feel like it's my second week on the job and I'm just learning things for the first time. So it's a great role for that.
Excellent.
Yeah, and Safe and Sound itself, though, started back in 2007, and with the concern about an overnight, no spaces for anyone to go in out of the cold at night. And unfortunately, that overnight piece, as of up until now, hasn't happened. But we're really excited about the future of that. Anyway, so it started in 2007, and then the space itself opened in 2009. So we've been here at 310 8th Street East, about at 8th Street and 3rd, for anyone who knows the downtown core of Owen Sound. So we've been in this space for, oh, my math isn't so good, but almost 15 years. So yeah, we have, if you come into the space, I can just kind of give people a bit of a picture. So you come in and there's a main large room, and there's a lot of chairs and there's computers there for people, as well as phones for folks to use. And then there's food, usually especially breakfast, and then a lot of snacks throughout the day. And then as you move your way back in the building, there's some washrooms, shower for people to use. And then we have a back meeting space where we do programming as well. We have laundry facilities for people to use free of charge, and also some clothing that's free. That's like a clothing cupboard. So a lot of people come in and go out with a new set of clothes on. So that's fantastic. We also, in the back area, we host a weekly interdisciplinary, I guess you would say, a health team that comes in. So we have a paramedic, a nurse practitioner, and a CMHA, Community Mental Health Association counselor, who comes in. So they're all part of the SOS team. And SOS is wonderful, and they're great people. So that's kind of what our space looks like. And then above, there's 3 stories. So the upper 2 stories host our transitional housing program. So we have 4 individual apartment units where people can stay for up to a year and receive support, hopefully transitioning from housing precarity or something like that to hopefully going into more sustainable housing after they leave the program. So that's just kind of a brief snapshot of what we're up to most days.
So the clients that you serve, all ages? Tell me a little bit more about who might benefit from Safe and Sound services.
Yeah, so on average, we see about 35 to 50 people a day. And everyone who comes in has a very different agenda, I would say, about their day and what they're doing. So some people, they just come in and maybe they just need to use the phone, and they use the phone and they're in and they're out. Whereas other folks, especially in the winter months, when they're trying to get out of the cold, they're certainly a lot more likely to stay in for maybe the majority of our hours. Currently, we're open 7 days a week, 9 a.m. till 3 p.m. And there's a wide variety also of ages and who come in. There's a slight majority or slightly more men access our services than women. But I think that maybe that speaks to a lot of men maybe aren't welcome in as many spaces around the community, whereas some of the women who are living in poverty or homeless, they're actually able to blend in better in a Tim Hortons or that kind of thing, and they're a bit more accepted in those spaces. So and the age range is it's really, it's hard to say an average because we have so many folks who are quite in their early 20s, even in their teens, but then also a lot of folks who are in their 50s or so. And I think that all of those people are experiencing there may be at different points in their life and in their journey. But some people who access their services are unsheltered, so they don't have anywhere to stay at night, whereas other people are perhaps in a precarious housing situation, or they're underhoused. So that means maybe they're staying on a friend's couch, and they're not really, they don't want to outstay their welcome or stress that relationship. So they'll come into our space here to kind of just go back to that spot to sleep at night, and they can kind of get out of their hair for during the day. And then we also have sometimes people whose utilities are connected or something like that. So those folks might just come in for a shower, or they'll just come in to access the internet and then go on their way. And then some people who find just a sense of community by being here. So perhaps they are housed comfortably, but they are lonely, as a couple of participants I can think of who it's kind of like it's a community center. And so people will come in here to meet their friends and just be a member of the community altogether.
Yeah. Your hours have expanded then. They're 7 days a week, 9 to 3 now.
Yeah, so right in the wintertime, we received funding from the county and from the city to be open later in the evenings. So for a while, we were also able to open between 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. And that funding is seasonal. So that goes from November 1st to 31st. So as of April, we unfortunately had to lose the evening portion of our service. But so for just now, it's the 6 hours during the day. And part of the reason that it's those hours is because our wonderful friends at OSHARE, that is the food security organization. They serve amazing meals for everyone's lunch and dinner. So that gives folks a place to be at in the evening to go and get a meal there. Whereas there's a bit of a space for us to fill with providing people breakfast. Right. So 9 a.m. Breakfast is on. I think today was pancakes, so it looks good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
While you've mentioned about funding. Funding comes, you mentioned, from the county, a bit from the municipality. Mm-hmm. Your offering is an important community service. What would you ask of the community as far as assistance with funding? What can people do to help you meet the needs of the types of individuals needing your service?
hmm There's really such a wide range of ways for people to engage and support our services. One good first starting point for everyone, I always think, is to continue to educate yourself, and not just learn, but also unlearn a lot of the stereotypes and ideas that you might have about folks who are homeless or underhoused or living with addiction. All of those pieces, I think that it starts with just I learn things every day that I come to work. So I kind of am a bit skeptical when I hear people who know about it, and it really it takes a lot of effort to really understand all the complex issues that folks are facing. I think too, traditionally Safe and Sound was more of a volunteer-based model of an agency. So that meant that we had a handful of paid staff, and then it really was volunteers who were delivering most of the programs. And that's a fantastic model if that's meeting the needs of the clients or the participants, we call them here, that are being served. But unfortunately, I think with and it's partly due to COVID and just the opiate epidemic, that the need levels that we're seeing, we call it the acuity level, that folks are experiencing has really outpaced a volunteer-based model. So, for example, in a 2-month span last summer, we had 14 overdoses in the space. So it's really challenging to find, and it's not really recognizing the labor of individuals who are the first responders to those kinds of situations. It really is a professional, it really needs to be professional service when folks are sort of at that level of crisis and using our spaces. So that being said, so that kind of also a bit comes back to our funding. So the county and the city and the community in general has been fortunate that a lot of very generous people have put a lot of unpaid labor into the agency up until now. But I think that there's a shift in thinking that needs to happen, that this isn't just a service that can exist without the dollars to go behind it. And we really do need to see more funding from all of our different partners. And we're excited that yesterday at County Council, a pilot project has been approved for us to stay open overnight next winter. So again, it's that same time frame of November 1st to March 31st, and we'll be able to be open overnight. So that's really important, and I think it's going to be really healthy for the community and for the agency. There's a lot of the motel program that Grey County puts on is able to serve a lot of people. I think that currently they have 25 motel rooms that are for folks experiencing homelessness. But a lot of the folks who come to Safe and Sound, unfortunately, for a wide variety of reasons, are not able to access that program and therefore end up unsheltered at night, or needing to engage in dangerous behavior or trade-offs to have a place to sleep at night. So what we're offering is basically no beds, unfortunately, for people to stay, but at least somewhere for people to come in and get out of the cold for the night. And the reality is that the system, in one way or another, has to pay for that. Like, if for an example, I can think of one of our participants who certainly would have made use of our overnight space, but slept outside because he wasn't in the motel program last winter, and as a result was hospitalized for over a month related to the frostbite that he got on his hands because of that. So if you just think about the cost of the hospital, to be admitted in the hospital for that extended of a period of time, let alone the cost to the bylaw, the police, city staff, cleaning up parks, etc. I think that some of this funding that's forward thinking and trying to trying to support the problems or the problems that the city sees. On the outset, it's really a cost saving measure, I think, for the community overall in the long term.
So certainly the concept of diverting some funds that would be at one part of the system towards a different part of the system. Am I interpreting what you're saying correctly?
Yeah, totally. And that's really challenging because everybody has their own budget with their own piece that they're accountable for. And that really obviously can be seen between the county and the city. And the city is responsible for heating and cooling centers, and the county takes the lead on homelessness services. And so where Safe and Sound fits between those is challenging because, you can actually be multiple things at once and serving multiple purposes all at once and being a community hub and all of those pieces as well. So it can be a bit tricky. It sounds like there's many funders, but sometimes then there's less somehow.
So if individuals are watching the program and they want to donate themselves individually, how would they do that?
So online we have we are partnered with Canada Helps. So if you if you Google Safe and Sound, and we're safe with the letter N, sound is our name, not Safe and Sound, and Canada Helps, then you'll be able to, that's our online donation platform. We also have just a lot of people who will come in to our facility here and give a check or cash to staff as well. So that's definitely an option for people. And also, if people are not in a position to donate financially to our space, then there is other ways too of volunteering that is really appreciated and needed. So for example, we're looking for people who can help us cook breakfast in the morning because it can be quite overwhelming to have 20 people at 9 a.m. ready for pancakes. So some support around people coming in to make breakfast. We have garden beds in the back. There's a lot of different things that whatever your comfort level is, because I know that it can seem like a very intimidating space for people who have never maybe been in a drop-in shelter, or they've been privileged enough to have quite a bit of distance between themselves and homeless folks within our community. It can be quite a scary thought to think about coming in to volunteer at a space like this, and definitely that doesn't mean there's not still a space for you. Another thing is like we get a lot of clothing that has a zipper broken or there's a rip or something like that, and we would love for people to mend that clothing so that we're not giving out clothing with holes in it. So there's, and for those kinds of things, you don't have to come in person. Same like a fundraising drive or raising money like outside of the agency. That's not something that you ever, if you're not comfortable, you don't have to come. So there's kind of a wide variety of people who can support. And the other way is if you're really keen, then we're always looking for a board of director members. So particularly right now, we're looking for a treasurer. So if you're in any way financially inclined, we would love to hear from you. And so people can reach out over our social media with Safe and Sound on Facebook or Instagram, or also they can email me. My email's a bit tricky, but I could spell it out if you'd like.
So maybe if you would take a minute just to spell it out, because you just never know, you know? All right.
Yeah, totally. So it's exec, so EXEC director at safe, and then the letter N, sound, graybruce.ca. So that's exec director at safeandsound.ca. Sorry, safeandsoundgraybruce.ca.
Excellent.
It's a mouthful.
You did mention as well the term unlearning, and as you were describing the volunteer opportunity, even flipping pancakes, what a wonderful opportunity to unlearn and learn at the same time by being physically present and assisting. it occurred to me that that's a way to be able to serve the community, but also learn more about the participants, I think is the phrase that you've used for the services. The numbers, are the numbers growing for your service?
Mm. Yeah, they are. And I think it's really particularly, it's not just that the numbers are growing, it's that the acuity and the need level of the people who are accessing our services is also growing. And that is coupled with the opioid epidemic and also how the cost of living, inflation, the impact that that's having on a lot of people. I think that so many people, for a lot of different reasons, really distance themselves from homelessness and housing precarity. But the reality is that so many people are one paycheck away from themselves needing to access services such as ours. And I think that when I think about unlearning, I think that some of the stories about how people end up, like so many, especially men who leave school and maybe they, after high school, they don't pursue any further education because they've got a great job roofing, and that works out great, and they're able to own a home and support their family. And then all of a sudden, at 45, they hurt their back, and they're not able to do that anymore. And then what's next? Mm-hmm. And I think that that's a reality of a lot of folks, that it's homelessness isn't sort of it's really something that is people come in and out of, and it can be really unpredictable for a lot of people. I'm not sure exactly where Grey County is right now on the total number of homeless individuals. In the late winter, it was around 160, I think, people who were homeless. And the majority of those folks are also considered chronically homeless. So that means that they've been homeless for at least 6 months. And that's and the longer you're homeless, the harder it can become to break out of that. So it's really the number of people who are chronically homeless that's most alarming, I think, when we look at the numbers.
And those numbers don't necessarily refer to those who actually sleep on couches and then come in and like that's homeless, meaning unhoused, not necessarily capturing all of those at risk or very precariously housed. And that could be a whole other grouping of people that would need
definitely. To be on the county's list and to be counted, you need to be also in contact with some service. And so that means that for some folks, because of shame and stigma or many other issues, they never access services that are available to them. And so that means that those people aren't also counted. And also because we're in an area that has so much land all around, some people go into the bush and they camp, and it just might be their immediate people in their life that even know that they're out somewhere in the woods.
So the county motel program, I understand, is constricting this summer. What do you anticipate will happen as a result?
I think that there's I think that it's going to result in many or multiple, I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but encampments throughout the area, the county, I guess, really. Safe and Sound focuses, well, we don't have since we're just a drop-in space in Owen Sound, we don't have a presence, let's say, in Hanover and around the county. So I can only really speak to Owen Sound's experience, but it will definitely result in many people camping. And I think it's one of these situations that's so predictable, because it is when you're giving less rooms and the numbers are not going down, people are going to camp. because they haven't been afforded the opportunity to be in a program, a motel program. So last, in the end of January, there was a decision by the Ontario Superior Court about an encampment in the Waterloo area, that it was potentially unconstitutional or violating people's constitutional rights to remove encampment. And so I think that it's a bit of a wait and see about how that is going to play out in our area for this summer. But I think that at the end of the day, we can be really as a not just not safe and sound, but we can be more purposeful about, we know that people are going to have to camp. So why don't we provide a supported location, at least so that, we know what the problems are going to be. We know that garbage is going to be a problem. We know that access to water and to washrooms is going to be a problem. And so rather than, again, like we pay for it one way or the other, rather than paying for bylaw and police to go in, and rather than paying for the city staff, park staff to come in and have to clean up, we can be purposeful about giving people a space where they can access supports and have those services for them to have some dignity in this whole trauma that really is being homeless at times.
And that will certainly mean a shift in attitude for our community and for a variety of individuals, for sure. That unlearning and learning cycle, for sure. We have 2 minutes left in the program. What would you like to profile in our last bit of time together?
Well, I just again wanted to thank you, for giving us this opportunity, because it really is the conversations like this that is sort of bringing forward, the issues in our community. And I'd love for people to reach out either on our social media, email, or come into the space. We're here 7 days a week. We love to hear from all of you. And also, I sometimes will go and speak to local groups about housing and homelessness and about what Safe and Sound does. So if you have a group who would be interested also in picking my brain for a while, I'm happy to come in. I love talking to people, so that's a great afternoon for me.
Excellent. I think information, communication are critical as we move forward. Annette, I can't believe the time has gone by so quickly. I have appreciated so much having this conversation, and I certainly invite you to come back onto the program to share information with us. So thank you. Thank you as well. Thank you as well to our viewing audience for joining us today on HealthLink. Please join us again to learn more about programs, services, and resources available to you and to your family. Stay safe, stay well. Thank you.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
What kind of show do you want to see on Rogers TV? What interests you? Log on to rogerstv.com, fill out a show proposal, and tell us about your segment idea. We want to know what you want to see. Rogers TV, only on Rogers.
The regulars, the guys who keep this place in business. Last week, they had something to celebrate. Jason had just finished university. So they toasted his profs, his TAs, his old roommates. Well, they toasted